lovely.
Oh,
How are you?
lazy today.
Hey, listen, as long as we're moving, it's never a lazy day. That's
Yeah.
what I've learned. I've definitely learned that as a chronic pain conqueror. Um, I get your pain. I understand what it is that you feel and that you go through because um, I have fibromyalgia. I have PNES, which is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. I've been recently diagnosed with lipedema and Ehlers-Danlos and some issues with varicose veins, and I have some gastrointestinal issues after some car accidents. So I get you. I completely get you. Um, I've literally been um, I've been trying to be an advocate for our chronic pain community because I see the darkness and the sadness that is coming through. And I used to be a motivational speaker before my car accident. So I took my motivational and I took my entrepreneur and I took my, administration. And I have a weekly show with my co-host who is also, she survives with lupus. And we have a weekly show called Chronic Pain Conversations. So we're preparing for our third season and we've been bringing information to the world, but now we want to bring faces because we want to show that it's not an invisible disability. Our pain is not.
No, it's not. You're amazing. I'm like, wow. I look at that beautiful smile. You just
Oh,
like my day.
oh, bless your heart, my love. I'm just blessed that you decided to jump on. I saw the name and I was like, I need
Yes,
to definitely just jump on and say hi and support you for advocating, for showing your ups and downs.
that's what we're here for, to support each other, because it, like you said, it's difficult at times, because yes, we're a little bit like shut out from the world because of our issues and our illnesses, and sometimes we don't get to socialize as much,
No.
and it does get lonely. I do have to thank God that I have a supporting family, because I don't know what I would do without them.
Mhm.
But it is a difficult journey, and throughout life, you learn to um, kind of like, how could it cope and
Mhm.
understand more, and you learn how to, you know, oh, what's that word? I'm thinking in Spanish. Golly, it's hard sometimes.
You have Spanish background in you?
I do. My father's
Oh.
Colombian, my mom's American Polish. So, and my dad was very dark skin complected. I came out with his facial features, but I came out with my mom's skin. And they're
Hey,
the best couple ever. Like, it's a big old different backgrounds.
that's
And
so awesome.
for like 13, they were neighbors, and then they ended up getting married, and they had me.
Wow.
So yeah.
So, well, I get you because my grandfather is from Venezuela. So I'm just like, oh. So tell me about your battles. Tell me about your chronic pain. What is it that you
um,
are dealing with?
I was diagnosed when I was 7 years old, with
Seven.
autoimmune, and it was very weird how it all happened. I started like throwing up and having a lot of nosebleeds and throwing up blood. So my mom would take me to the ER, and at first they were like, "Nah, it's regular nosebleeds." She took me like 2 or 3 times. That's what they told her, and then we ended up going to the Children's Hospital in Chicago, and a Spanish doctor from Spain, she took my case and she's like, let's run some tests. She ended up finding out that I had autoimmune hepatitis. Um,
Right.
Genetically, my father's side of it, because they had autoimmune and angioedema, hereditary angioedema.
Right.
So throughout those first years that I was diagnosed, it was hard on me. And used to be very active. I loved soccer and all that. Little treatment. and the prednisone and all that started like eating at my bones. So they started telling me that, I couldn't play soccer because, I was at risk of breaking something. So little
No.
happening, and my liver was just getting worse and worse. It was being attacked. And calling my mom,
Hi,
see,
Charlie, Mama.
you're talking to us. I'm sorry, honey. I'm over here distracted, trying to tell a little story of myself. And so what ended up happening is that my liver started like almost dissolving inside of me.
No.
So sick, like horribly. I was yellow, yellow. My eyes were yellow. I looked like a zombie, and people would look at me and they didn't want to be around me because I was gonna, pass on what I had. So I was very depressed, super. I was angry at the world and everything. And then all of a sudden, I found God. That helped me a lot. And right before, after like that happened, we got the call from the transplant hospital in Miami, Jackson Memorial. And they're like, we have a liver. And they had called us one time before that, but I was all the way by Dallas, visiting my great grandma who was already on her deathbed. So I was her first great grandbaby. So I was really stuck on her. I loved her so, I love her till this day. So we missed that one. But then the second call came in. It was January 17th, 2004. And I was 16 years old. And everything came out perfect. Thank God. I was like right there when they were prepping me and stuff. We got down from the airplane, the ambulance was there. They were prepping me in the ambulance, got to the hospital, and I was already on the gurney. And I was like, Lord, if I live, I live for you. And if I die, I die for you. And I was just okay with it. I was just okay with it. But then I woke up. I woke, I woke up, oh God. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And my new life started. And it's pretty amazing because for people with autoimmune hepatitis issues, when they receive a liver transplant, it usually lasts 7 to 8 years. And here I am, 17 years, and if God wills
On the
it,
one.
yeah, on my first liver transplant, and I hope I can live my whole life with it. Try to take care of myself as best as possible, keep my regimen, keep, eating healthy, and, try to help the liver last. Um,
As long as you
2014,
can.
yeah, in 2014, I did go through, no, I'm sorry, 2011, I did go through really hectic, time in my life. And I was very stressed out. I was very depressed. Um, and it was very hard for me to overcome that. It was a marriage. I was married, and I my liver started acting up, and because being autoimmune, when you're stressed out, you kind of like
It
the
goes
system
goes
goes
right.
here, and so
Yeah.
they started trying to attack my liver again.
Mm-hmm.
So I got fibrosis of the liver, but thank God,
What is it?
fibrosis, stage 2 and 3. So scarring of
Oh,
the, so it's like the stages before cirrhosis and hepatitis.
gotcha.
So in 7 years, and thank God I've been stable. But throughout my life, because of the heavy medications and heavy treatments, I've developed other issues. I have osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, scoliosis.
Oh,
I have a spinal cord injury because in 2005 I had a tumor cerebri in my brain. So they had to go through my back to drain it because it was a liquid tumor. It was
a liquid tour?
fluid. And so it was the size of like a tennis ball. It was so painful. And
Oh,
they went through my spine 7 times. And because of that, I have a spinal cord injury. So Apart from that, I have hereditary angioedema, which is um, I don't have a C1. So what that does is causes me to swell up whenever I am stressed out, or if I fall and hurt myself, boom, I swell up like elephantitis. And it would happen to me a lot on my throat. In 2019 was the scariest episode I had. They
Oh my
had to
God.
San Antonio. They had to put the, what is it called? Intubate me, and I
Right.
ended up waking up in the ICU like 2 days later. So I have a couple of things, but I try to push myself to, be happy and accept it. And this is my life, and I'm okay with it. And I like to motivate others because I know how lonely it is. It does get
Right.
lonely.
Right.
So even if we have our family around us, or you know we're able to keep in touch with friends or whatever,
Right.
it still gets lonely, because we can't really, um, they don't really what we're going through. So that's why
Right.
it's a little, because I'm like, I got to the point where I'm like, I know I'm not alone. I know there are others that go through what I go through, and living with chronic pain daily, it if you don't take care of yourself, and sometimes even if you do, your mental health can take a turn, and
People don't understand that it's connected, and especially since you were talking about the stress on the body. A
mhm,
lot of our chronic pain community, they hear about it, but they don't realize it. They don't realize that their anger towards their doctor, the issues with the family not listening to them, the issues of people not hearing them when they're trying to articulate themselves is adding to the pain and the stress that their body's going through. And it makes complete sense because you're allowed to be upset. But I've had to find ways to breathe it out because I was like, I am not going to let my emotions about somebody else
very different.
create additional pain in my body.
And I've analyzed this many times, and I think about the fibromyalgia that we suffer, and I feel like a lot of it is connected to our emotions and to our senses.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, like, if I remember, I do deal with chronic pain daily.
Okay.
If I have like a flashback of my past or something where I really went through like emotional trauma,
Mm-hmm.
hurting even more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it'll like this weird sensation of just like tingling pain that goes from
Happen.
to, oh man, this is so weird. And I've tried to, it's connected to trauma. Yeah, look, she's commenting. Oh man, I can't say it. Raphael,
Mm-hmm.
67. Connected to, yes, it's trauma. And a lot of people that I've talked with, fibromyalgia, they also went through trauma. Let it be, let it be, let it be any type of trauma, abuse, etc. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, uh, they weren't able to cope or digest that trauma,
And so
and
their body
so
broke. It was the straw
it
that broke the
stayed,
camel's back.
and boom, you know what I mean?
Hi,
And
Pia.
so, hi Petra. Um, so I wish there was more. Um, can I say this? Funding uh, for the research of fibro.
So,
How's
so
that?
there are different researches going on because I'm trying to be such a big advocate about this. Like, the reason why they call me the overcomer is not just because the accidents. Like, if we talk about trauma, we've got a list to go through, and I understand that. And what part of the world are you located? Because I hear you moving all over the U.S.
I'm in
Tennessee.
um No, Texas.
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 Okay. Have
I'm
you?
I'm by I'm by the border. I'm in Uvalde, Texas, and it's close to San
Okay. Have you connected with any fibro groups that are out there? Any fibro associations that are out there?
Antonio.
Be-
There's hardly, like maybe on Facebook, but it's just everybody's all over.
Right.
All so
I've been recently working with the American Chronic Pain Association, and I know that they have different locations, but there's I've been connecting with the Oregon and the California one, but I've been trying to connect with some other places. But they're always looking for people to become facilitators to help them create more groups for people. They're also looking for um, there are research studies that are out there. I'm even part of one right now that's a virtual reality to help reduce the stress specifically for people for chronic pain. And when you get yourself connected with some of these places, you hear about these research options that are out there. And that's what's really interesting to me is our chronic pain community doesn't realize the amount of resources that are out there. We've got the cognitive behavioral therapy. We have the psychologists and the counselors. We have different things like physiotherapy and touch therapy to help different people out there. And this is what I do as a chronic pain coach in terms of helping people find these resources or looking at your benefits, because so many people don't realize that if they have certain benefits, they have options to it. Some people don't because of their finances, but there are people that want to help and ways that want to help. And some of the services, chronic pain clinics that you might be able to get some of your services from for free. But even as you're talking about the emotional side, there's this huge bias against mental health. Like it's becoming something now because of COVID, but there's a mental health with chronic pain that people don't understand that this 1 and 1 is equaling 2, you know? And there needs to be um, there needs to be a mind shift when it comes to understanding how sitting down with a counselor or a therapist or getting therapy, and there's so many different types, dance therapy,
uh,
art therapy, that you can do to help you hi remove stuff. I got a poochie over here.
like, what are you doing?
I like there are different places. And I think the one thing that's really interesting about COVID is that it's taught people that you don't actually have to stay in your neck of the woods to get the help that you need. You can really get it with the Zoom and with the internet now. And so there are options.
My therapist on Tuesday. It at the beginning, when I first started experiencing, mental health issues. I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. There's the stigma around it, and
Hmm.
no, I'm crazy. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to, you know. And in the Latin Hispanic community, it's very difficult because we don't really talk about our emotions like other people.
Same
You
thing
know,
as the West Indian.
yeah,
Hmm.
like, you're expressing it. Not that my family, but other people. Family on that side of the family, they're like,
Hmm.
okay, you're fine. You're fine. You're just it's a little bump.
You know, it's really funny because we don't sit back and think about, if we got a gunshot, if we got a knife stab, if we got a paper cut, do you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? If we
yeah,
got a burn from the fire, we don't have a problem saying, I've been hurt. I need a solution. I need to go to the doctor. I need to go to the emergency. And it's the same thing with our mental health. They're waiting for us to be crazy in order for it to be like, the house is on fire. And the fact of the matter is we may have a paper cut that stings us, and we
yeah.
still need to go and get that disinfected and put a bandage on it and let it heal. And people don't understand that that's the same way with our mental health. And 1 out of 5, actually 1 out of 5 Americans are dealing with a mental health issue every year, whether you have a chronic pain or not, but they don't actually acknowledge it. And 1 in 3 is going to deal with one in their lifetime. And it's more than just you lost somebody with their death. It could be stress from work. It could be stress from a relationship. It could be a parent trying to deal with their kids and they don't know how to deal with it,
Yeah.
and
It,
we need to bring this to our community.
most definitely, because there, the stigma is there. A lot of people are just like, we're not gonna do this, or, we're she's 5-year-old doctor keeps telling me I need a
Yeah.
psychiatrist.
For the
Like,
yeah, like honestly, I don't know if it's Petra or Petra, but if you she may be right. I'm not gonna lie. There have been, so my clinician list is ridiculously long. I have a neurologist, a rheumatologist, a physiotherapist, a psychologist, a counselor for my epilepsy, a personal trainer, a physiotherapist, a chiropractor, a chiropodist, a nutritionist. The other thing that we don't think about is our food and what our food intake is like and how that stresses our body or not, because that also stresses our mental health.
yes, and
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that because, um, this past year has been so difficult on all of us. Even if I'm usually very homebound, like I'm stuck at home because I already take immunosuppressants and all that, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't interact that much with people physically. So that being said, if my interactions and my social life was already limited, now it's completely gone through this past year. Now
Yeah.
I started, binge eating, and I started not eating healthy and all that, and I did weight, and my mental health started to spiral, and I was just like, I can't deal with this, and I was, and then everything hit me at once, and I've never been at this point in, such a low point in my life where I felt like I was doomed. It was a horrible feeling. I don't wish it upon anybody. And I had to ask for help. I,
Mm-hmm.
spoke with my doctor. I love my doctor. She's very understanding. She's my friend. I've never had such an understanding doctor in my life. She's super sweet. And so I'm like, I'm just very scared at this point because I don't know if it's genetic, my mental health issue, or if it's, my own body, you know,
You want to
and
hear what has been very interesting for me
oh,
is that um, after my first car accident, it was the medication. So I was suicidal once when I was a teenager after I was raped and became pregnant, but I became suicidal again after taking some of the medication that I took. And we don't realize, like, it's really crazy, but even as chronic pain, conquerors, the amount of medication that we put into our body was never meant to be in our body. And sometimes that medication is messing us up because we've had it in our system for way too long. And this is why we need to go and have these conversations, not just with the psychiatrist. It can still be with a psychologist or a counselor or a therapist. Um, but, we have to keep an eye on that stuff too. Like what meds work with what meds, what time of the day we take which meds, what keeps us up, what puts us to sleep, what changes our moods, you know. We don't take into account, some of us just pop our pills, and we need to be really aware of that.
have it going into our body. And, it's very difficult because a lot of people, they just put all their trust in the doctors. And I thank God for doctors and, all the treatments that there are. But yes, a lot of drugs, a lot of have their side effects. And they might not show up the first year or the first couple of years. They can take time for it to like develop a real issue. Let it
Mm-hmm.
be physical or let it be mental.
Mm-hmm.
So at that, when I'm telling you that I was just feeling like a, you know, doom, like I couldn't even move. I was just stuck in bed, and then if I would get up, I would get vertigo. It was horrible.
Oh no.
I asked for help, and I started my treatments, and I started, speaking with a psychiatrist, a therapist, and even my pastor, I have my weekly sit downs with him, and all this support came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Because before I didn't ask for it, but now I'm like, hey, I'm kind of like drowning. Throw me the life saving, and that's exactly what happened. I was thrown the rope, and now I'm getting out of it, out of this ditch. And
Mm.
like I was telling you, my eating and all that, the gut health has a lot to do with it. And so I started on this journey of plant-based foods.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, girl.
The way
It,
that it changes you, the energy that you get, the life that you, yeah,
yes,
the
and so
aches, the
started,
reduction of your inflammation. Yep.
yes, that right there. That right there. So I lived with gut inflammation, intestinal inflammation for years. Okay, and so I started this, and all of a sudden, that I wake up, my stomach is not swollen. Okay, and it's flat.
And it's not gassy, and it's not.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm liking this. I'm so into this. And so I'm like pushing forward with this plant based, and I, got my mom to join me on it. Hopefully in the future I get my sister to join me on it. And I've lost weight also. And
Yep.
starting to feel this balance in my body that I didn't have before.
Yep.
And so it's working with me. It's working with me. And so I switched from milk to
Almond milk,
almond.
oat milk. Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll make my smoothies with my almond milk, and it's fine. I am not picky about it. I'm like, we're going to go into this, and God willing. And yes, I feel better. And slowly through time, time passes. As time passes, I'm able to restore somewhat my health, restore some kind, restore a little bit of the damage that has been brought upon to my,
And you can keep doing that. For every day that you try to put something healthy into your body or you give more to it than take out of it, it elongates your life. And
yeah,
one of the things that I love to tell the and I call you conquerors, I call us conquerors because that's exactly what we are. When we get up every day in the midst of our pain and we still brush our teeth and we still make our food or we still cook dinner or we still make it out of the house or we still do some kind of physical activity, you are conquering over the pain. But what we didn't realize and what I want to bring to a lot of people is, people like you that just, even in the midst of your pain, just coming out and speaking, anybody that's watching, for every day that you get up, you're actually an influencer. You
oh
are
yeah,
influencing and showing other people that even in the midst of pain, you can get up. And what's even more interesting is that, for me, being that I've gone through like all the different kinds of abuse, I say, our fibro, our chronic pain is the physical manifestation of what we would feel in our heads. You know what
yeah.
I mean? People walk around, so many people walk around as zombies. So many people walk around as though they're depressed. So many people are walking around with confusion, frustration, and they don't let it out and they smile at work and they smile with their kids and their spouses and their family. And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And they're broken and they're hurt or they're in pain inside. We just
Those,
have it on the outside.
yeah. And that being said, it builds up over time. And so left untreated, it does become a problem. And
It
it can be
does.
a neurological, problem. And
Mm-hmm.
then that itself into physical issues. And like you're saying, like you've gone through all these stages and all types of abuses. I can relate to that. I
Mm-hmm.
really that, and it's very difficult to be able to overcome them, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And looking for the right resources, like you're speaking about, um, where we can overcome it, you know little by little, little by
Mm-hmm.
little. one step at a time. We don't go into recovery or remission just like full throttle,
You
and it's
don't.
gonna no,
It's
it's time, and sometimes it might be frustrating for us because like I'm tired, I want it now, but it's not about that. It's about being able to, you know what I mean?
I think, it's a double-edged sword, because we want the pain to go away immediately, but there's a place where there's patience that needs to come in it, just like you're saying. Even if you get a stitch from a cut, it takes a while for that stitch to heal and for you to go back to the doctor to take those stitches out. And we don't think about that. And I think, and I hate to say it, but I think that it has partly to do with the world that we live in now, because we live in a microwave society, that we want it right now. But if we were living 100 years old before the computer came out, you knew how you had to wait for a letter. You didn't mind having the patience to watch something heal. But we want everything taken out immediately, but we don't want to put into it. And there's a place where you have to give yourself time to heal. If you have to go to school for 5 years to learn a book, if you've got to go to school for 8 years to graduate out of like elementary school, why is it that you won't give yourself 5 or 10 years to relearn your body after
Yeah.
it's gone through a traumatic experience? Allow yourself that time to grow and relearn yourself and to tweak yourself, you
Well,
know? Mm-hmm.
that's just saying. I have changed my diet to try and control the pain. I have fibromyalgia, lupus, dysphagia, pulmonary fibrosis, etc. And a new doctor is helping me change my lifestyle to help
Yeah,
with. Yes, that's amazing, Petra. I'm
that's
so.
amazing.
And you know what? You're gonna be able to overcome this. You're gonna be able to.
Yes, you are.
For me, there's days I can't even get up and I'm bedridden for a few days. Is it like that for you, ladies? Yes, it is like me. I'm pretty sure it's like that for you too. Uh,
There's a couple of things that cause that for me. The most recent ones have actually been examinations in going to doctor's appointments. And after they've touched my body, it sends my body off into a flare up because they've triggered all of this
all of
stuff. And
and
I at
pain.
least, yeah, um, at least once to twice a month. This is actually the second weekend where I've just been in bed, kind of, but at
Mhm.
least twice a month, it's just, I'm having trouble walking. It feels like shards of glass when I'm stepping. I'm bawling in tears. It's just, I get you, honey.
It's very ugly. That's the shards of glass on your soles of your feet. That's horrible. Thank you for
It's,
this. Alone, you're not alone, Petra. You're
you're
not alone.
not, you're not.
And for me, like if I exert myself in an activity, like yesterday, we had a beautiful reunion in my church where we supper
Are
and we.
you 7 Day Adventist?
I'm sorry.
Are you 7 Day Adventist?
No, ma'am. I'm
Oh,
Christian non-denominational.
non-denominational. Okay, you said yesterday, so I was like, yesterday was Sabbath.
Uh, Yesterday, yeah, we did celebrate it. It's every August 14th of every year. So
Okay.
church gathers, but this time we weren't able to get gathered physically. We did it all through the internet, through social media. But still, it being such a long service and stuff, I kind of exerted my body. We were here at home, my whole family. We were sitting down, taking advantage of the Word of God. But me sitting down for so long, kind of like brought on the flare up of today. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like, I slept like 5 hours during the day, and I swelled up a little bit. I'm like, I don't feel good today. She's like, it's okay, honey, just rest, rest it off. And I love my family because they already understand me at a good level, and I've been thinking a lot about how I would love to make a documentary around this. It would be amazing. It would
Mhm.
be because we're now living in a world where social media makes it easier for us to bring awareness to this issue. Okay, and it wakes up people where they're like, oh my gosh, they're going through that, and they relate, and they're like, okay, and they're empathetic, they're like, oh, I feel your pain, and it's okay. You see all these social experiments online where they're trying to bring out, humanity in people, um, where they're like, oh, help the homeless, or, let's help this person, or if there's discrimination stuff. I don't know if you've ever looked at those social experiments, but, it's easier for us to bring awareness through, just the click of a video, or through social media.
Media, like we're doing right now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I watched that documentary called Unrest, and I was like, man, I would love to make something like that. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
awareness of different types of chronic pain that everybody goes through. Okay, and the different illnesses that can bring that on. You know what I mean? And
There's so many, honey. There's so many. The
and
American Chronic Pain or the American Pain Association has over 115 different chronic pain diagnoses.
oh my goodness, you
Can you
see,
believe that?
115
Yeah, at least. At
that,
least.
that we know of.
That we know of. It was blowing my mind. I was like, we could do one topic per week and we'd still never finish. It's really crazy.
It is, and I'm just like, you know, we can do this. Like it's not impossible. Not impossible. And I'm like, I need to be more active. I need to bring hi. Hello from Dallas. Hi
Hi,
from Texas.
hi from Dallas.
Best friend just logged on. Jair, te quiero mucho.
I love you and love this. Hi, Loette.
So I mean, like if we're able to do this, we'll be able to bring more awareness to this side of the spectrum. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it would be wonderful to be able um to what am I saying? Oh my god, brain fog. To be able to bring I get the blockage. I don't know if it happens to you. Like my mind will like it will go oh, hablas español, saludos de hola, saludos
Hola.
de Uvalde, Texas. He's like, oh, you speak Spanish. Great, Dallas, Texas. Um,
Mm.
and you know what? The cool thing about it is that being able to communicate with each other like this, we're able to see and make others that are just like us, fibro warriors, feel, and know you're not alone. You're not alone, you
You
know,
know,
and hold each other by the hand and, we,
I think for me, my mission is not just to say that you're not alone, because there's so many different things that, we sit back and we think that we're alone with, but it's not just that we're alone. But I also want to help our chronic pain community find peace in the midst of pain, because everybody thinks that it only has to be one or the other. But the truth is that you can be in pain, but be sitting on a park bench watching an amazing sunset and still be psychologically in pleasure,
yeah,
and helping people find that pain and pleasure, like finding that balance, because we focus so much on the pain that we forget that the world actually still has pleasure for us. God still has pleasure for us in the midst of things. If we're especially, like I can have this conversation because I know, you love God, and I call him daddy, and there's this place where we seem to forget that even in the midst of pain, all of our ancestors that have walked before us, they've had thorns in their side, they've had other issues, but yet they were still a soldier for God, they still ministered for him. There's still a place where you can find love and happiness with your family. It may be painful and you may not be able to be, the hare, but you can be the tortoise and still finish that race. That there are things that you still want to do. Like you talked to me about soccer, And
Mm.
there's, you know, associations that deal with disabilities, and being able to have conversations with those associations where instead of running, you're in a wheelchair, you know, and you're using your hands or something, and you're playing soccer. And there are options for us to have life. And I refuse to let the accidents of somebody else be what
Yeah,
stops me from still smiling every day, you know?
that right. Accidents of somebody else being what stops me every day. And a lot of us, sometimes, we're not able to overcome the past. And we're like, why? And we dwell in it too long. I'm 33 now, and I'm still learning about myself. I'm still learning how to overcome so many things in my life and how to grab these illnesses and be like, you know, let's stick together. You have to deal, help me out here and work together to overcome this together. It's very, it's something that is possible. And to be able to bring that up with, different spooning, I think that's a lot of hope and hope also. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we can overcome this. There's always a way. There's
There
always a
is.
solution.
There
Don't find
is.
the solution to our there are solutions to our emotional pain. Yes, and if we are able to heal that emotional pain, we will be able to deal, and live with our physical pain. Like you said, sitting down and enjoying a sunset. That's wow. That's amazing. Enjoying life, that moment. You know what I mean? And being like, oh, let me just stay in this moment. Let me live this moment right now. You know, and so that's something that I'm still learning how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to allow myself to enjoy life, even though there are, we have our chronic illnesses, we have to learn how to enjoy life,
Mm-hmm.
even though we have.
And the funny thing is if we don't learn how to enjoy life, then what is the point of you living? And I don't mean this to be in a rude way, because I've sat down in chronic pain meetings where they have there's serious pain, like a migraine. They can't go into the sun. They can't. There's just I've met, I've heard about people that can't even drink water. Water hurts their intestines. Like there are some illnesses that are out there, and you're like, I would never wish this upon anybody. But yet, even in the midst of that pain, you can still enjoy a smile. You can still
Yes,
find something to smile about. And that's what I really want to help people do, because if you can't smile at least once a day, even
yeah,
in the midst of tears, even have a laugh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my biggest distraction is make me laugh till I'm crying in a good way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yes, yes,
And and I want people that, even though we have chronic pain, even though we have pain in general in life, because everybody has pain. You know what I'm saying? And I don't we may have physical pain. Some people may have a heart pain that we'll never see. Some people may have a mental pain that we never get through. They're bipolar. They're dealing with going back and forth. We don't realize what's happening. But there's so many different ways of having pain. But there are also so many different ways of having pleasure. That smell of the bakery, that being able to have a coffee outside, the going for a drive into nature, the putting your feet in the ocean, the reading a book for a moment. There are things that, even while my leg, like even as I'm talking to you, my leg is hurting me, my back is hurting me, but you can still smile. And if you learn that there's pain and pleasure, then what you try to do is combat the pain with the pleasure. And like for you, when you're talking about the food that's coming into us is allowing our bodies to have more pleasure. The dealing with the mental health is allowing our bodies to have more pleasure. We have to learn to manage our lives. Whether you have chronic pain or not, you have to learn to manage your life in order to overcome.
yes,
And there's a point that you made about being, you said you're 33, 38.
three.
So I always make a reference. So nowadays, people are living to be 100, right?
Mm.
There are four quarters in a dollar, right? And I compare that to our life in terms of, I'm 43. I am not two full quarters.
Mm.
Thank you. I am a quarter, a nickel, a dime, and a couple of pennies. And if I'm in Canada, I can round up to two dimes. I haven't lived my whole life. I watch our I watch my spiritual moms, I watch our grandparents, I watch our elders. They're still trying to figure out life. People, get there's not a book, you'll never figure it out. But if you realize that you'll never figure it out and you're willing to just keep learning and keep growing, then even in the midst of your pain, you can learn to grow through your pain. You can learn how to manage your pain.
Most definitely. And like I said, everything does have a solution. Put our mind to it if we put our energy into it. Only thing that in life that doesn't have a solution is death. Okay, so that's it. That's
That's it.
it. If you know to be able to enjoy our life, we need to allow ourselves to be able to feel those happy moments and not dwell in that pain, all our life. Because if we're dwelling in it, we're really not living.
You're not living.
We're
You're
not
not
living.
living.
And so, like you said, what's the point? What's the point? And a lot of people, they feel hopeless and they're like, well, what's the point for me staying? What's the point for me sticking around? And at some point in my life, I was suicidal. You
Yeah.
know, I had a failed attempt, and it was very difficult because um, the one that, helped that God and my sister, and she, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, and she pumped me. She pumped my stomach out of all the medication that I took. And she's like, you can't do this. You can't do this. And we sat and we talked. I cried my eyeballs out, and I'm like, I just don't feel, I don't feel anymore. I want to go. I'm tired. I'm just tired of feeling like this. And so then she told me something. She's like, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about yourself and you're not thinking about others. She said, you by doing this, you're gonna bring pain into the lives of many, including me, including mom, including the boys. And so I'm like, oh my gosh,
You didn't
I
think about
that. And then if I would go through with it, that, they would be going through that trauma of being like, why? But why? If we were there, if we were trying to help all this time. And it's true. It's true. I do have my support system, and I thank God every day for it. If I didn't have them, you know, I can kind of say they're kind of my anchor for staying. You know what I mean? And
it. I get it. My
much, I really do. And so the other time we were talking, we're very expressive. We speak our minds, and we speak how we express how we feel, because that's how we've been growing throughout our lives. We're a small little family, but we love each other, like stuck together like chicle, like gum. So
there's speaking of sisters, mine there's two things for me. One, my somebody had once said to me, the lowest that the enemy has brought you, if you think about it, is the opposite of how great God wants you to be. And I have been in some really low places, so I'm expecting to be some greatness. And we don't sit back and think about how hardships make us better people and stronger people, in how there are some chronic pain conquerors who are literally living the best life of their life because they were moving so fast that they weren't even enjoying life or loving themselves. And their chronic pain causes them to love themselves and to voice and to advocate for themselves when they weren't going to do that before, you know? And it's empowered them because they have to speak out. Because if they don't, their life will literally go away or they'll be in too much pain. And I get you about the standing because I have a niece and a nephew, and they were around when I had my first accident. And they're just turning into their teenage years. So they were just going into double digits. And one of my nephews said to me, you know, Auntie Khalilah, why do you keep getting up? Like, I see you in pain. I see you crying. Why do you get up? And I said, the reason why I get up is because of you. If you can watch me get up and still succeed and still try and still become something and still help and still love God, I have to show you that you can do the same thing when you get older, because I know you're going to fall. I know there are going to be times where you're going to want to give up. I know that there's going to be times where, you know, you just want to give in. And I have to be that example to show you that in the midst of difficulties and hardships, still get up, because something good will happen at the end of that hardship, you know? And they know that I've changed, but they still see me happy. And there have been people that have said to me, I know that you're in pain. I, like, in the middle of me crying, like I will be crying, smiling, crying. And they'll be like, I know that you are in pain, but I've never seen you in such peace in your whole life. And this has been a double-edged sword, because I've had to really let go of the things that, you know, the things that used to anger us, like if you were 5 minutes late to pick me up, or we were running late for something, or, you know, you got the wrong food, or you missed a grocery list item. Those little things that were pissing us off were setting our bodies off. And now when I see that my body will have a tremor or a pain from it, I'm like, that means nothing anymore. You know what? It means nothing anymore. And we don't let go of those things.
Like we start learning how to be patient, and we start learning all these virtues through
Mm-hmm.
this. And it's something, like I tell you, you know, I'm still discovering myself. I'm still learning myself every day, you know. And I do look back sometimes and I'm like, man, why did I react like that? Like, was it worth it? Like, really, all that energy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it wasn't.
You were
You
still going to learn yourself even if you didn't have the chronic pain. And that's what people don't understand. You were always learning new something about yourself. When someone new comes into your life, when a difficulty arises, when a new opportunity arises, you're always changing. So whether or not we have these illnesses, you know, we were going to change anyways. We were going to grow anyways. That's, you've been growing from the time that you were in your mama's belly and conceived. You're going to grow until you take your last breath. And that growth might not be in your height, you know, anymore, but it will be in your mindset, and it will be how you move through life. And we learn things like compassion and understanding, that because we look for it now, that we give it more too, you know. And it's been a double-edged sword, but it's, I'll take the blessing more than I've taken the hardship with the chronic pains that I've been given, you know. And it's hard to say that.
What we need to do is look for the blessing in the storm, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And be able to say, okay, I'm going through this, but what can I take out of it? What's the good, you know, that I can bring out of the situation?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it took a lot for me to start, you know, being compassionate towards others, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because you're like, oh, me, me. And then if I fell into this realization, and I'm like, it's not me only, like, it's not just me, okay? And then we learn how to be compassionate towards others, how to sympathize with others, and be like, okay, you know, let's hold hands, even if we're not like physically there with them, but being able to be there for someone that's going through the same hardship, maybe in a different form, but something similar. Um, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. You know what I mean?
It is. It is. It truly is.
Scripture says, one of my friend, a priest, told me that pain is redemption. You know what? I've thought about that. I have thought about that. And the day will come where we will face the Lord, and this is what I believe in. And the Lord will probably ask us, "And what did you do for me? What was your sacrifice?" Because He did the ultimate sacrifice, giving His life for us. What are we doing for Him? What are we giving in or in exchange for that sacrifice? And so being able to answer, we'll be able to answer, you know what, Lord, I was able to go throughout my life without, you know, being mad, or without being angry at the world and saying, why me? You know, no, I was able to take my trial, carry my cross, and move forward. And I did it for you, as you've left that example. And so I do think that it's a bit of redemption path for us. You know what I mean?
I
Especially,
think I don't know if our pain, hardships, I think they're growing tools for us. I think that we are, because I think that the hardships are answers to our prayers, because, I like to sit back and say, we sit back and we lavish in fruits. We lavish in oranges and apples and grapes, and all of these things have seeds. And these things have to be planted into the dirt, which is this dark place, and bud out of the seed and make its way through its dirt and make its way through the seasons and bud out into like leaves and trees and grow into something big and go through all these seasons of winter and spring. And then even after it goes through all of the seasons it goes through, it somehow gets picked and makes it to our mouth. And when we bite into a fruit, we are thankful of how good it is and how luscious it is. But we never think about what that apple tree had to go through to get to give us what we gave, right? And we are those same seeds. We have to go through those places to bud through darkness in order to be able to grow into something for us to feed,
yeah,
to leave a legacy for our
yeah,
children. We have to go. If we had life good every single day, we would take so many things for granted. Do you know what I'm saying? As chronic pain conquerors, we take just lifting our hands for granted. Like, you know what I mean? We're thankful when we can, wash our dishes, or be able to like spend a full day outside, or, not be in pain when we go down the stairs, or different things. And we learn to be grateful for the simple things that we have taken out of grant, or parts of our body.
yeah,
And if I want to partake in fruit that helps me grow, I need to realize that I'm also a fruit that needs to grow other people in my life. That's how we've gotten to where we've come to. That's how inventions have come along. That's how evolution has come along. That's how building certain things have come along. I'm just part of this puzzle. And I will be part of this puzzle, and I will do what I need to do to the best of my ability, so that whoever comes on this earth after me, holds my name, or who I interact with, leaves a legacy that makes something better. And
yeah.
that's what I'm about.
Being able to, give that fruit, to bear that fruit of, how can I say, let me find the word, that fruit of being able to overcome that success, or we can put so many words into it,
Hmm.
being able to help other people, leaving that behind, most definitely. And
Hmm.
I thought about that. I'm like, well, if I'm not able to have a baby, what am I leaving behind? It's not about that. It's about what we're going to leave for other people to be able to live life for themselves. As you're talking, I remember my mom would always, till this day, she'll tell me, someone has it worse. You know, you might be going through this, but someone has it worse. And you need to be grateful. And yes, we do need to be grateful.
We do.
Because, like, if we really analyze it, sit down and think about it, someone has it worse than us. Even though we're in pain. What's up, buddy? I have my
Your
girl.
cat.
They joy to my life.
Oh, he's a cutie.
Look
He's a little
how cute.
pug.
She's a little bit like, say hi.
Hi. Hi, cutie. Hi, Black Beauty.
I
Hi.
want to grow. Her brother is huge. She's a fatty, but she want to grow.
Okay.
She was front of the litter.
She
So,
is watching her weight.
girl, always hungry. I never thought I was gonna have a pug, but they're lazy and they live for food and they sleep 14 hours a day. So him perfect.
We're like, we're good. I need to walk you once a day. That's great.
We're okay. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have to excuse myself, even though I've fully, thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't even know, last 20 minutes of conversation.
Amazing. I appreciate you.
Thank you for even coming on that I could even
Thank
join.
you so much for sharing this time with me. I enjoyed.
Am I allowed to send you? Because I really do, for anybody that's listening, with our chronic pain conversations, which is at CP Conversations. You know, we're on the break but we're starting for season 3, and we want to bring real faces
Yeah.
to the chronic pain. Can I send you a form? Can I invite you to fill out a form so we could have you on a day? Because
Definitely.
you are such an inspiration, my love. Thank you so much.
I really appreciated this time with you. Thank you for sharing this time with me.
Okay,
So,
you have an amazingly blessed week, okay?
to have a
Mwah.
bye bye.
Bye.
Everybody for watching. Bye bye. Bye, y'all. Have a great night. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember how to turn this off. Bye, y'all.